Never shall innocent blood be shed. Yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, tonight I'm kind of doing what Nick has done in the past. I'm going back to history, but Nick goes back to Doll Rock. I'm not going to Doll Rock today. I'm going to talk about another guy from the past of the Red Pill. And this is going to pull together a lot of things that we have said, things we've done entire shows on, themes, like the Red Pill is moral. It's a moral good. Like the descriptor is the problem. And other things. Oh, our criticism of, or pointing out the errors in the Christians and the church. Oh, there'll be other things too. So tonight, go ahead, guys. I'm hogging it so far.
Steve, the ball's on you for the show title. Married Red Pill is Christian? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you imply that anything associated with Red Pill is Christian at all? Come on, man.
Or the other Red Pill guys will get mad that you're saying it's Christian.
That's why when I was writing the little blurb for this evening, I was like, okay, we're gonna piss some people off tonight because no one's gonna like this title.
Well, hey, if Red Pill is the truth, and if the truth is moral, and if morality is part of natural law, and if natural law is part of God, and, part of God's design, and God sent Jesus Christ to save mankind, how can the Red Pill not be Christian if it's all those other things are true?
They don't have to be Christian, but in the end, they would end up espousing the same thing Christians ought to espouse.
Well, if Christians espouse the truth comes from God. Can there be truth that's not Christian? Don't all roads lead to the truth? Therefore, don't all roads lead to God?
Yep, there you go.
Well, I would argue,
all roads lead to Rome. I was glad you didn't say that.
and I would just say, not all. I just want to say something here. Not all roads lead to truth. There's many, many ways you can get yourself twisted, fucked up, gay or after 8 minutes or whatever, right?
Okay, yeah, I'll go with it.
But you said it's like no, not all roads lead to truth, but if you search for the truth with wisdom and discernment, the chances that you find it are much better than.
Hey, there's one road that doesn't lead to truth. It's a road that's paved with good intentions. Where does that lead?
You mean a highway? There's a song, right?
No.
Oh,
Well,
you're on that route?
I guess the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I guess there is a road to hell. That's kind of where Nick was going, I think.
Well, the path is narrow. The right way is narrow. The highway to hell is wide open.
Okay, well, let me pull up
There you go.
what we're going to talk about. The very beginnings of the married red pill. Okay, I'll read this through and then we'll talk about it. Keone Galt, aka Dave from Hawaii, was the first one to blog about going red pill in his marriage. In fact, he may be one of the first ones who used a red pill, blue pill analogy when it comes to the manosphere. His posts have some good advice, but mainly provide a great motivational story for married men everywhere. This is a compilation of his posts about red pill and success in marriage. Most people think Athol K was the first one to bring red pill into the realm of marriage. Few people know that there was someone who jumped into the realm at least 6 months before married man sex life went live. Dave from Hawaii was a commenter on Royce's original blog before it became Chateau Heartiste. He made a series of comments talking about how he applied the things Royce was writing about to his marriage. Royce himself noticed the comments and compiled them into the first post about red pill marriage I could find in the modern manosphere. Links to that. This remains one of the best starting points for married men trying to turn marriages around. While the post offered great hope and inspiration for many married men who were facing a dead bedroom, the post did not have any real in-depth advice. Fortunately, with a little digging, I found the rest of the story. The journey takes us to the blog of Hawaiian Libertarian, where Keone Galt, aka Dave from Hawaii, has been blogging since 2007. His blog has focused on a few topics since he started, and he has said himself that the subject matter he writes about tends to follow what he is interested in at the time. As the name of his blog suggests, he tends to focus on more libertarian topics. Sometime around 2009, he discovered the MGTOW movement and started following it. And then we're going to go into a couple of his posts. So, let me point out, okay, this was written by this was on Reddit, R. Bud Dwyer. I don't know who that is. In general, I agree with what he said. I remember the name Dave from Hawaii. I followed Keone Galt, commented there a couple times. He cited some of my writings. In fact, he's the guy who posted one of my writings that probably is the only one remaining. It's Team Woman.
Yeah.
All around, he's a good guy. Very smart. And well respected. So,
Okay.
Go ahead, Nick.
So Keone Galt or Dave from Hawaii runs the blog or ran the blog Hawaiian Libertarian, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to connect the dots. So he used the red pill, blue pill analogy before it kind of went more mainstream. He was one of the first ones to use it in the manosphere. And he took the writings of Royce and tried to apply them to or apply them to marriage.
Yeah. Essentially, yes. Back then, it was more of a collaborative effort. It was Guys posted stuff. You commented. You didn't necessarily follow them. You didn't agree with them. You went back and forth. If it was a good idea, you might try some things. You might argue about it. There wasn't any real followers. There were hosts and participants. Right. But, this follower thing, that's more of a YouTube term.
Okay.
Because you didn't subscribe. You just participated.
I remember that a little bit in the blog days. I did a little participation. During that time, I was too busy doing studies and reading books. Yeah, I was a bit of a nerd. Still am. Yeah, I was probably a blue pill dumbass at the time. So this was back when I was probably like, okay, 2009. That would have made me like 20 years old.
Yeah, well, and 2007 when, some of these concepts were first developed, you were 18. You didn't know shit.
Yep,
about this
not just
stuff.
out of high school, man. That was my freshman year of college, just out of high school. Oh man,
So
I still don't see how. Well, I know how. I had success with the ladies. I didn't sleep around and all that, but man, I was an idiot at the same time. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Nick, no. Look, you can have, as long as you have a dominant masculine presence, if you don't know the terms and you don't know all the like the spreadsheet version of red pill that guys like to push, right? It's like, here, just do this and that and plug it in. Like, you have a dominant masculine presence, you will do well with women. I'm the exact same as you. I thought I was doing poorly with women, and then much later on, I went back and read, and I went, "Oh crap! I was beating the pants off those guys." Because it's just who you are. You can't help it. And so there is an aspect of the red pill where we thump our chest a lot about being able to help, make men, interact with women better. But the reality is it mostly comes down to who you are as a person. And you were born that way.
Until
it's the conditioning that everybody says, oh, you need to get in touch with your softer side. You need to be more emotionally available.
It's why they want to.
Oh my gosh!
It's why they want to pull us down. It's why they don't like us.
Well, no. Okay, well, I'll use Nick as an example. Okay, he had some of the inclinations of doing the right thing, and he was meeting women, talking to them, interesting women, getting women interested in him when he was 18. Then he got on the Christian kick.
Yeah.
Went down that path, went to seminary, and then had Christian nice guy behavior beat into his head. And he probably changed. Okay.
Betaization by 1,000 concessions, buddy.
And then, he tried that as hard as he could in his life and in his marriage to make it work, because that's what they're telling me. This is the Christian way to behave. But it never really 100% took him over, because he was kind of a rebel, and he'd push the boundaries in his sermons and whatnot. It didn't quite settle, but just that behavior didn't work out well for Nick.
Steve, it's nature over nurture. Nick's nature was always that way. They tried to
my-
nurture him into being what the Christians thought he should be, but his nature was always sitting there right under the surface.
Oh yeah, my seminary professor's like, I just can't wait to hear what Nick's gonna loudly protest about this bullshit that somebody was saying. Not they didn't say it in those terms, but yeah. Then they try to rein me in for my sermons when I was a licentiate. Then, oh, this new guy, this new pastor's calling these women feminists and defending these guys, calling these Jezebels, basically. I'm like, well, it's the truth.
Look, you can take the alpha out of the jungle, but you cannot take the jungle out of the alpha. Yeah, Shu, exactly. There's a large part of this stuff that we talk about where you're just born this way. You can't help it.
Oh, let me challenge that. There's this idea that there's betas and alphas. And if you're not good with women, you can learn that. You can adopt sauna and basically fake it till you make it. Well, there's truth there.
I've seen guys do it.
But, okay, what is the truth? Go back to Genesis. God created Adam with dominion. And maybe that kernel of character is really small in a man, but he recognizes there's something missing. And he goes out and he studies and he tries to determine what's missing, what aspect or what does he need to develop within himself. Maybe he's just nurturing the nature that already is present within him.
I don't know that I'd go that far. Because and we can say, if we can always say, it's cultural, but here's the thing. If all men were dominant, then no men are dominant. There's no hierarchy.
You're taking it too far. I'm not saying all men are dominant. I'm saying all men have a measure of dominance, which makes them more dominant than women. That doesn't mean all men are equally dominant amongst themselves. There still are leaders among men.
Well, if you're saying they're more dominant than women, yeah, sure. But that only works in a society with restrained female behavior. If you have to have the other side of it, then there has to be some reason for lower status women to go for lower status men.
Okay. But would you agree that a man can increase his dominance nature by working on it?
I would.
Yeah. To an extent, yeah. I mean, there's
right.
Yeah.
I don't know how far, but so a man can improve. Okay, I'll go with that.
All right.
So all men were not created equal.
No. No.
Okay, we just spent 5 minutes getting back to all men are not created equal. Okay, yeah.
So, okay, here's another point that I want to make. Dave from Hawaii, Keone Galt, used this information from Royce and applied it within a monogamous, faithful marriage. He used information that he learned for good. What do you guys know about Royce or the reputation of Royce's blog?
Well,
You've
I
heard
know the
about it?
feminists. I know the feminists hated it. He got a reputation. I mean, he was one of the original ones that the feminists went after. You know, they were calling him, you know, a player, womanizer. You know, all the older bad names that most men now celebrate.
I think, if I remember right, it was Royce in D.C., District of Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody, he was never doxxed. Oh, maybe he was, but it wasn't. I don't remember. He kind of skated through, but he was hated at the time by women, feminists. He was a really smart guy who started a blog, so he had some technical capability, very high intellect, because he could break down the things he saw and write about it. And he wrote about it, put out a blog about every week. And then I think it evolved. There was more than one Royce, and the name changed to Chateau, or the web name changed to Chateau Heartiste. So that's my understanding of this. So it drew men in, and they commented, and Dave from Hawaii was one of them. So let's bring up the first one of Keone Galt, Dave from Hawaii, one of his posts. Okay. So this is from December of 2009. So the title is PUA for LTR. Those not familiar with the acronyms, it's Pick Up Artists for Long-Term Relationship. So I'll just start reading it, and we'll take some time to go through this post. First and foremost, commenter Patrissimo invited me to co-author on a new blog, PUA for LTR. I have politely declined, as I have a hard enough time writing here on my own blog, as well as regularly contributing to the Spearhead. This was the first time I heard of this blog, and was somewhat amused to see a post dedicated to my own commentary I had contributed to Royce's blog in the past. You can read it here, as well as see the commentary of a bunch of people that criticized me, had no clue what they were talking about, and had made judgments of me, my wife, and our life, of which they really knew nothing about. I've written a rather extensive broken up into 4 different comments that are currently awaiting moderation. I'm going to repost them here as my final say on this topic. I'm sick of people making judgments about my wife, and I, based on the little snippets of my life that I decided to share, in an attempt to help other men who were in a similar situation as myself. Before I get to my responses to the commentary on that blog, I want to make a few things real simple and clear. Guys have any comments to that?
Already they don't like the judgments. A lot of judgments already. Back in 2009, they still hated it.
Well, and they attacked the messenger.
Yep.
And they form a narrative and say mean things and make up shit. Gee, have we ever seen that behavior before?
All of the YouTuberverse, especially in the RP world. But what I find interesting about this is we see a lot of RP people attacking men who get married, particularly RP people who talk about being married using the red pill. This is not all of them. And I want to make that very clear, because there's also red pill men who are, that you guys know and follow, and you guys know the names, that are very married. I mean, Thor was married, met him and his wife. Yeah. Rolo's married. Donovan Sharp. And I particularly remember Donovan Sharp taking a ton of shit over getting married. He's like, why would you do that? And they're like, yeah, why would you do that? You're not a real man. You're not masculine. Yeah, and there was a ton of hate directed at Devin for because she didn't meet these guys' standards of looks. Although, who cares, guys? Who cares? She does it for Donovan. Like, why do you have to care?
She is the right woman for him.
Mm-hmm.
She's not. I'm not saying this critically. She's not super thin. Okay, well, so she doesn't meet a lot of man's idea of the woman they want. So what? If she's a woman for you, you're going to choose what aspects are really important to you. I would say Donovan chose well because they're still together and they're working together.
Well,
they seem to have fun. I think it was a good choice.
I think it was too, and I had a chance to meet her and chat a little bit with her offline back almost a couple of years ago now, when Elena did that podcast with Devin and Donovan, and she is exactly the same person on camera as she is off camera. She's very quiet. She listens. She does as she's told. Okay, she doesn't meet some arbitrary standard of beauty, and you all are ragging on Donovan for that. And it's like, I don't think you understand, guys. He picked a woman that was very peaceful to be around, just even as another guy. Like, I get exactly why Devin got picked. and all you guys are out here, all these guys out here, it's like, and so I was listening to you read this, and I was just thinking about that as, guys, a large part of the red pill has always been dedicated to solving men's sexual selection problems. And then y'all want to get up here and what?
He got RSVP.
Yeah, he did. He did. And so the red pill gives you all this advice, and then a guy turns around, very successfully applies it to get exactly what he wants, and y'all want to take a shit on him for doing it because he didn't do it your way. I have news for you. You can get the fuck out.
Yeah, well, whatever. You know what? In the beginning, the red pill was not, or it was a manosphere at that time, was not comprised of men with a single purpose of betting a lot of women. No. There were the pickup artists. There was the MGTOWs. There were the married men. There were the men seeking marriage. They were sharing information. And each man individually aligned himself somewhat with one group or another, and he took the information and he applied it according to how he wanted to apply it. So the red pill didn't create pickup artists. Sure, some of those guys who wanted to go down that road came in and gathered the information that they wanted to use and used it for that end. Other marriage-minded men came in, gathered the information that they wanted for that end. Other men came in, gathered the information about women and said, oh, hell no. Is it any different today?
No.
Well,
And look, to the men who come in and gather the information and say, women, fuck them, I go, yeah, brother, I understand you. I didn't make that choice, but I support it. I understand it and I support it. It not only is it your right to make that choice, the women aren't actually doing a great job of selling themselves to the contrary of you making that choice. So I agree with you. And
where's all the good men at?
not
Sorry,
checking you
I
out.
couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, but you're right. Because look, look, women, you ain't shit. And you I mean, it wasn't good. This blog was what, 2009? It weren't good back then, and it has not gotten better since. It's only gotten worse.
Oh, much worse, yes. Well, let's continue. Keone writes, I am not an alpha. I've never claimed to be one. Rather, my entire point in contributing to Royce's blog at that time was to relate my experience in identifying my own behaviors and mindsets that were, for lack of a better term, I was aware with at the time, beta. By focusing on beta behaviors and how to avoid or correct them, perhaps many people have mistakenly thought I was claiming the mantle of alpha. For lack of a better term, studying game, which is what I referred to previously as taking the red pill, gave me insight into what behaviors and attributes were attractive to a woman's hypergamous instincts and what behaviors and actions were repellent to that same instinct. Once I stopped the repellent behaviors and incorporated the attractive behaviors, I guess you could say I did become an alpha, small a alpha, for my wife within the bounds of our marriage. But other than my previous use of the term beta and betaization, has nothing to do with claiming to be some kind of capital A alpha or a PUA that could have women eating out of the palm of my hand.
I would say most guys don't want to be PUAs. Being a PUA is a shit ton of work, guys. Most guys, what do most guys want? They want a woman.
RSVP.
Yeah, they want
RSVP. That's what they want.
RSVP. And they look, I've said it before and I'll say it again because I'm married right now. One woman is a ton of work as it is. I don't want 5 at a time. Like I'm not interested in it. I've got more interesting things going on in my life than that.
And how tiring is it to keep having to have a continual rotation of women and balancing all that out, hoping some don't find out of each other. Maybe you don't care if you're a PUA. I don't know. It depends on the person, but and then it's just a constant rotation of emptiness of it doesn't effing matter. You're just getting your dick wet.
For some guys, that works for them, and I don't have a problem with them doing their own thing. But I look at that and I say that life isn't for me. And then but then everyone else comes in and says, "Oh, well, then that means you're not a true man." Fuck you.
You know what? Adam was a true man. He was created first. And he says, God, I'm lonely. I need a companion. A companion. I don't need a harem of companions. I just need a companion. So God created a helpmeet. Okay. He was good with that. I don't need more than one woman.
That's what I said. If look, guys, if you're out there and you want to play the plates game, knock yourself out. I won't stop you. I won't even look down on you. But if you start coming after other men for how they choose to live their lives, and you try and define true manhood as the way that you're doing it, you're actually doing what liberals do, leftists do. You're trying to claim that you have a monopoly on the definition of what is true and proper manhood. The leftists, of course, have a different thing that they're looking for. But that's no, you don't, as a matter of fact, have a monopoly on the definition of true and proper manhood, because what you're really trying to do is to use that definition to justify your behavior and basically say that basically pull it's Overton window manipulation. You're trying to pull everyone into your view of how the world should work.
Yep. So yeah, I don't try to control other men. I'll discuss their behavior with them if they're open to it. We can have a good back and forth, not angry. I'll challenge him. He can challenge me and my beliefs, but I don't set out to try and change him or force him to change. That's a better way to put it. I may try to change his opinion through conversation. I don't want to force him into taking my view. That would be silly. So I'll continue reading. I am not a PUA. I've been married for 12 years now. I love my wife more than my own life. We have made a family together, and I am determined to raise my own children to benefit from the knowledge that I have gained from making all the mistakes I hope to help them avoid when they grow up. If I am any label, I would proudly wear that of patriarch. That is what I aspire to and what I believe I now fully live up to. What do you think of that?
Yeah, he talks about kind of the same things we do. Like, hey, he wants to have a successful or a flourishing relationship, marriage with his wife, and he wants his children to be raised in the right way and learn from his wisdom. And he's the patriarch. He understands the hierarchy of the family, the natural law, the natural order.
Yeah, we've used that term patriarchy and patriarch. We're trying to redeem that term. Hey, he was doing it way before we jumped on this bandwagon. Okay, I do not control or intimidate or manipulate my wife. On the contrary, the only real difference studying game has given me was to learn the most important lesson of all. Do not let your wife's emotional state control, manipulate, or intimidate you. I no longer live my life as if my wife were my authority figure. I am my own authority figure. She accepts my authority because she wants to be a part of my life. This is how a complementary relationship between a man and a woman should work. That's what patriarchy used to be, but now has been socially engineered nearly into oblivion.
No, amen.
So when I say a frame here, Plutarch.
Yes, that's all he's talking about. That is all he's talking about. Don't let your wife's emotional state control or manipulate or intimidate you. That's it. But that requires frame. There is There's no game I can teach you. There's no amount of money, and there's certainly no amount of muscles that are going to prevent this from happening to you if you don't have frame. And
So what?
look, go ahead.
What's that term? Mental point of origin?
Yes.
What's that mean?
Mental point of origin. The core of mental point of origin is frame. It's saying I am in control of myself. I am in control of myself. This is key. Myself, not you. I can't. If anyone thinks that they can control a woman, gentlemen, go out, try and control a 6-year-old for a few hours. Let me know how it goes. And then just come back and tell me how well you think it's going to work on women, because women exist in a mental age of between 6 and 16. Okay.
So Keone's saying that I am my own authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm my own mental point of origin. Hey, that thought is right here.
Well, it's why it's there's a conversation going on in the chat on the side here, and Chief said this. He said white knights in the church seem to have PUA energy. Well, of course they do. They're trying to use game to cover for their lack of frame, and so they use PUA tactics to a different end. Okay.
And what kind of game are they using though?
Oh, well, the term that we use is sneaky fucker game. But it is still just game, and it still falls apart after enough time goes by. I mean, we've talked about this before. This idea that we call it hypergamy insurance on this channel, right? You can money muscles game your way into ensuring that she will never leave you. No, you can't. Sorry.
What's the center of the white knight and the PUA's life and goal?
Women.
I can game you hard enough to get pussy.
Mm-hmm.
I can nice guy you hard enough
to get
to
pussy.
make you see that I'm a nice guy so I can get pussy.
Right. In both cases, and I think Chief hit on something very important here. In both cases, the mental point of origin is the other, specifically the woman. Now, look, this is not to say that PUAs don't bring something to the table. They absolutely do. They figured out how to basically talk to women. Right. It's not to say that their contributions are somehow lesser, but there's a reason why the church white knights seem to have the same energy as the PUAs do. It's because they do. They're just trying to do different things with it. Yeah, Tacticus, that's a good one, actually. The illusion of control of agency. This idea that you can control a woman who has agency, and I got into it a bit with Allie on Twitter over this. It's like she put a post up that basically was like, okay, women don't have any agency. I forget exactly what she called them, but it's like, and I was just sitting here going, you do realize that you said that women have absolutely no agency, and thus you have no rights to your kids because you any operant in a system without any with no agency has no responsibility for its actions. So you can't be responsible for your kids. That's what this is all getting at is, but this is what it looks like from the men's side, where men come in and they think, oh, well, we can just control the agency of women. Yeah. How did that work out for you, Nick?
Oh, not just me, but pretty much any man. It doesn't work. Like,
well, you were laughing, so
if you're at work,
and to think and to have that much control is too effing tiring. Who wants to do that?
Amen.
Guys, you understand this concept. At work, you have a supervisor. Does your supervisor try to control you? No. If you supervise others, do you try and control them?
No.
You just set the standards. I'm going to lead. This is what you should do. And then generally it works. And if they're a screw up or if they're defiant, you fire them. There's not, that could lead to some drama, but you don't spend your life trying to control them. You got better, you have your job to do. You got other things to do. Your boss doesn't try to control you. He just says, here's the tasks for today or whatever. Or here's your assignment, go do it. And yeah, we've all had micromanaging bosses who step in and try and control how we do the job. That is fucking annoying. Don't be that. Shall we continue?
Sure.
Keone says, I do not put up an act or a front. I did not adopt a fake persona that I constantly strive to maintain. No, I learned to see my own behaviors and actions and how they interacted in dealing with hers. I learned what worked and what didn't. I also learned that the things I did that were causing her to be upset with me were contemptible, weak, and unmasculine. I learned from my mistakes and have changed my entire outlook on life and the way I interact with all people, not just my wife. At this point in time, I am nobody's bitch. I live my life how I want to. I am going my own way. It just so happens I have a wife who is going that way along with me. All that being said, here were my various responses I gave to critical commenters there. I hope this clarifies things. First and foremost, I have to respond to this. Personally, I would be living a lie if I was married to Dave's wife and felt the need to treat her the way he does all the time in order to maintain the marriage. But then I'm not him. Oh, really? And just what do I do all the time in order to maintain my marriage? Just how do I treat her that you find so hard, difficult, or objectionable? Some of you guys are talking out of your asses and trying to assess my reality based on what limited, subjective, and contextual scenarios I described for you all. To tell you all the truth, once Royce assembled everything I'd written into one long post, I decided to simply step back from his blog and let others contribute their own stories similar to mine. I had written enough, and I had gotten to the point where I was starting to reveal a little too much personal info on the internet. Hawaii is a small place, and the last thing I really wanted to do is have my writings on the internet somehow be used against me in real life. I've taken the red pill, and nothing makes blue pill takers angrier than confronting a person who tells them everything they believe and do is based on lies, propaganda, and indoctrination. I've had this discussion one too many times in real life with friends and family members and seen too many people desperately determined to cling to their version of blue pill truth and won't even contemplate a contrary viewpoint.
Well, I think we've all kind of had some. I've definitely had my online writings used against me many, many times.
Welcome to the internet, folks. Hate to say it. And
Oh yes.
You know, there's a reason that I don't put much about myself out on the internet. And I mean, you guys already get a lot of it from, you know, if you guys watch any of Elena's stuff, she actually puts quite a bit out there. And so I had to look at it and say, well, she set up what she's doing for her channel. You know, she's got her music and stuff going on over there. It's like, okay. But that means that I can't. Because there is a point where if I put that much out there, you guys could figure out who we are, where we are, and that could end badly for all involved. So yeah, sometimes you just don't put a lot out there. But it's part of the reason that we've made the effort to go visit with, you know, other people in real life in the Red Pill. They know who we are.
It all depends on your situation.
Yep.
How many times, guys, have you had conversations with family members and friends, and they think you're just nuts, and then you just give them information and information and information, facts after facts after facts, stats after stats after stats, and they still, well, my marriage and that won't happen to me. I'm going to find me a good woman, and I'm still going to believe it's all just going to work out in the end.
You know, I can summarize this, Nick. The descriptors are the problem.
Oh, really?
How many times have we said that?
You try and bring people the truth, and if it's opposed to what they have chosen to believe, they will not believe it. This is the main reason why you really can't talk religion with people of a different religious persuasion. I'll admit it's true for me. Okay, I'm Catholic. These guys are Protestant. If we get into too much, I'm going to get stubborn and say, no, this is what I believe. They're going to get stubborn and say, no, this is what they believe. And, you know, we're going to just, okay, there's no point. So we stick to things we have in common because, you know, every single person on the planet has their belief system. Some is arrived at and is right, others is partially right, but it's still what they believe. And mere facts are not going to change their mind.
You mean their feelings?
Okay. Well, I mean, even in Christianity, what did it take to change St. Paul's mind?
He had to be born again.
It was a confrontation on the road to Damascus.
Yep.
Well, Steve, there's another thread to pick up on here, and you know, you're talking about, oh, you know, you're Catholic, we're Protestant. There's a parallel in the Red Pill. You've got your PUAs versus your MGTOWs, right? They both agree on many of the same principles, right?
Sure.
Okay. So, you know, the MGTOWs, they just want to go their own way. The PUA is like, no, I can use this and I can get lots of pussy. Why would I want to go my own way? I can, and it's like, but they agree on many of the same data points. Okay. Instead of trying to tell the other side that they're wrong, stupid, and don't understand, how about we get together and work together on the things we do agree with? Because I'll bet that the PUAs also agree with the MGTOWs that women ain't shit. Now, the PUAs leverage it differently. They say, oh, yeah, but I can use this to my advantage. And that's true. But there's lots that you can get together and with other men and say, work together with them. And so
I
instead
would
of creating drama amongst us, let's get together and talk these things through.
I would say the majority of men act that way. For instance, the majority of Catholics and the majority of Protestants get along just fine. There's some rabid Catholics and rabid Protestants that are button heads, but the vast majority of people are not. It's the same way between the PUAs and the MGTOWs and the married red pill. Yeah, there's a few rabble rousers out there who are trying to stir things up, but the majority basically just get along and coexist and converse with each other. Not a problem.
Sure. But that's what we need to be. I would say, particularly not just as content creators, but content consumers. That is where you're going to find, as a content consumer, when I consume content, at least, that's where I find the more value. Yeah, I get it that watching the MGTOWs and the PUAs go at each other, it makes for great drama content, but I don't learn anything from it. It doesn't help me, and it doesn't help me as a man improve my relationships with women. It's just great content to get my emotions up. Except, so like Shu is saying, Shu and Andrew both at the same time, if I'm factually, objectively proven wrong, I'll drop my ego at the door pronto and I learn. Right, exactly. But you're not going to do that watching drama streams. Andrew, same thing. Most of what people believe is based on emotions, not facts or reason. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so drop it. Now, look, I know most guys aren't. That's okay. You can't reach those people anyway. But for those of you listening, the content you consume absolutely matters.
I'll give a parallel example. So I think all of us would agree here, except some of the weird, more evangelical, manipulative tactics in their theology. You can present them the truth. You can give them the facts, right? Like a pastor or preacher is responsible for declaring the truth. He's not responsible, nor should he control their responses.
So what you're saying, Nick, is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink?
Yeah, that was what I had in my head. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
It's true though. Like I can put, and I mean, I am eternally grateful, particularly to the early red pill guys, the early manosphere guys, for going to the effort to collect all this data. But there comes a point with all this data where you have to drink, and yeah, people don't want to. Yes, you can lead the people to the water, but you can't make them drink. But if they don't, well, you have to move on. You can't make them drink.
Right. But these truths were arrived at by men debating it and sharing stories. And, kind of, there was discussion. It wasn't always pleasant, and it's not supposed to always be pleasant and not always agreement. There was a lot of pushback. So we have what we have, but we have to acknowledge where we got this, because we cannot develop this body of work today in the YouTube environment, because that interaction is not happening the way it used to go.
Well, and it goes back to YouTube is primarily geared towards emotional slop. It's just what it is. I mean, the comment section in YouTube, I mean, particularly comments under our videos, you guys have done a great job, but it's a terrible format for trying to develop new ideas.
That's part of what our group chat is, though.
Yeah. Well, but we had exactly. We had to go somewhere else to do it.
Well, let me continue. Keone says, my study of game was not my attempts at becoming a PUA, nor was it simply faking a personality to become attractive to my wife. It was an awakening to the truth. I was finally able to see through the illusions and lies propagated by a lifetime of indoctrination by the mainstream media and educational institutions I've spent most of my life attending. Also, the biggest thing I had to overcome was seeing the truth of my own parents' relationship with each other and how it set me up with a blueprint for failure when I myself grew up and got married. Were it not for their devout faith and devotion to their church, my parents would have been divorced many, many years ago. I do not doubt this in the least. And the biggest thing I had internalized from being raised by parents bound together by religious doctrine rather than true love and respect for each other was a total pedestalization of women in my mind. Till this very day, metaphorically speaking, my mother says jump and my father says how high, and she has seething contempt for him, and she shows it in a myriad of ways. And yet, my father is an upstanding, devout, religious, honorable man who is always ready to take the shirt off his own back and give it to a stranger in need. His entire life is devoted to his church, and he spends considerable amount of time helping church members in need. And he has all women pedestalized in his own mind. Can you speak to any of this stuff, Nick, from your experience as a pastor?
Oh, yeah. Women can do no wrong. Do not ever criticize the women. Happy wife, happy life. She's your better half. This is the pedestalization of women. And you see a lot of good men like this guy's father just married to these contemptible women. These, I'm not going to say his mother was a harpy, but there's a lot of harpies in the church. What do? They get a man, lure a man in, and they devour him. They devour good men who probably have honorable expectations. Yet they probably have, many of them, dead bedrooms. And women that like this treat them with contempt. I'm not saying it's all women, but it is a lot.
Gentlemen, you've seen these women at your local church. You know who they are. They're scolds. They scold you. They scold their men. They scold everyone. They are prim and proper. They're always, perfectly dressed, beautifully coiffed hair, all of that stuff. Everything about their life looks perfect. And these men are broken, destroyed, worthless. And I hate to say it, but they are worthless men.
Oh, well, okay, I'm going to challenge it. So you guys are saying that this dynamic is common.
More common than they want to admit.
Okay. You're kind of blaming it on the woman for doing this and the man for not being the man. Well, and the man for not being the man. How about, yeah, these both might be decent people. Even that harpy woman might be a decent person if she wasn't indoctrinated in this equality, nice guy. She's holier, she's pure, more pure than the man. She needs to control him. This whole mindset has warped her into becoming what she is, and it's belittled him into his mindset. Aren't they both equally wrong?
No. See, the thing about what the church does and what the society does as at large is all it really did was take away restraint on female behavior. It deleted things. So most of what you see from women is who they actually are, who they have always
Judge them by
been.
their fruit. You judge them by their fruit.
Well, in this particular case, that's really easy to do because there are no restraints on them. The church won't place restraints on them. Society won't place restraints. So you are getting a very accurate picture of what that woman actually is.
Okay. But a woman who doesn't act that way, could it be her husband has a little bit more game to use some means of restraint on her behavior to bring her into line?
Yes, that and probably a better father figure. She had a good father figure with authority who used it.
Yeah, I was going to say fathers matter because I'm thinking about Elena here, and she was not. She wasn't a woman that I had to bring to heel, and also thinking about Devon, not a woman that Donovan had to bring to heel. Yeah, he has to. You still have to have your dominant masculine presence. They are women. They are going to behave as women behave, but there are some women out there who, through whatever circumstances, like Nick was saying, with a proper father figure and whatnot, they just don't behave. They are not constitutionally built to behave that way, and
They're
don't.
not constitutionally disciplined to behave that way. So if she had a weak father,
Yeah,
didn't raise her with proper discipline and attitude, oh, she's a feral woman. And a modern man doesn't have the power, the strength, the authority, the ability to bring her into line.
Steve,
It's
question.
too late. And we've
Question,
talked about the importance of fathers here in the past.
right, but question. You see, because women in the past typically had strong father figures to do that for them in their younger life, we didn't have quite so many of these raging whores. But I would challenge the assumption that all we need is men to be stronger to rein these women in, and that
Yeah,
men back then would have been able to do it where men today cannot. Yes, that there are more legal restraints placed on men now than there ever have been. That's very true, but I don't know that I
you
would
can't
go
out
so.
alpha the state.
Well, no, you can't out alpha the state. But I think my point here is more that it's almost impossible to compare these apples to those oranges because the men that we make today are not the kind, because the women that we make today are not made the same way that women back then were made. They're not made by strong father figures. They don't have, complete family units in most cases. So I would challenge this idea because I have spent time around feral women, and I am not the most dominant guy out there, but holy shit, you couldn't pay me to try and deferalize some of these women. You can't do it. Okay. And I have told my wife this about certain people in our private life. I've told her, look, that woman, the only way that I could break her of her feralness is to do things that would have been illegal 200 years ago to do to women. I am talking about things that are biblically illegal.
And why would you want to do that?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm in agreement with you. I'm just saying it's complicated. You can't just say it's the woman's nature. It's her upbringing, and it's how her father raised her, and that he didn't have the strength to raise her with the right discipline, and the state took away his power, so he couldn't. And now she is the way she is, and you lack the will, maybe capability and authority, and goes against your principles to try and do what's necessary to bring her. So it's just all messed up. We can't just blame it on the nature of women. It's the entire environment.
Well, it is, but I think my point was more that the environment has gotten to the point where, because there's zero restraint on women, we are for the first time getting a culture-wide look at what unrestrained, unmitigated, uncontrolled female nature looks like, and the society has no idea.
Feral.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
feral.
They're feral, and society is sitting here going, "What the hell do we do with this?" And I think that's that's a long conversation. But my point is that this is the first time that we've ever had a good large scale look at what true female nature is, and a lot of men are going, "Fuck that, I'm out."
The other thing is, this is the first time we've had the internet where we can all share our stories.
Yep.
We can see other men telling the exact same story 2 states over,
Mm-hmm.
on the other
Even
side
in
of the
China.
world.
Even in China.
Everywhere. I mean, it's the same story everywhere.
Well, yeah.
And so now we're saying, yeah, there's something. Oh, wow, I have way more information, and I can reach conclusions today in 2025 that I could not see in 1995. I could not arrive at the conclusions that I have today because the data was not there.
It's very true. And, Tacticus, he's talking about, how it's all these different institutions. Yeah, it is. These institutions are designed to place restraint on human behavior. And I'm using the term human here advisedly, because there are many, many institutions that are designed to replace restraint on male behavior. What we've done is we have selectively removed the restraints on female behavior and retained the restraints on male behavior. I don't think we know how feral men would act. I don't think we'd have a good idea of if we just removed all restraint on men. And I think we can guess that it's going to be pretty fucking ugly, particularly for the women if we do that. But we have done it to women, and we are starting to see just how ugly it is. And now we're getting to the point where all of society is kind of like, this is not what we were hoping for. Well,
you remove all restraint from men, it's not going to get continually worse, because then the alphaist alpha becomes dominant, and he imposes rule.
Yep.
And that's where it's at. Everybody finds his place in the pecking order, and it doesn't continue to devolve from there.
Hierarchy is inevitable.
In the male world, yes.
I was just going to say, for men.
Okay, so remember the title of this stream? Red Pill is Christian.
Married Red Pill is Christian.
married red pill is Christian. Yeah. So in this example, Keone's father is not acting Christian. Because let's go back, well, not biblical, go back to Genesis. This guy is listening to his wife. He's recommitting the first sin of Adam. Well,
Yep.
one of the keys of Christianity is the Old Testament reveals or predates the New Testament, and they work together. So these truths are constant. We're constant throughout. So the red pill is showing Keone that there's something wrong in his parents' life. There's something wrong in the church. So the married red pill gave him the Christian concept to understand what was wrong.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, here. Okay, where did we stop? Okay. Keone
Right
says
there.
his father has a twisted Christianity, warped notion that women are the pure sex and that all men are debased, sexist pigs with evil lust that can only be controlled by submitting to female authority in the covenant of marriage. And in their church, I haven't attended since I was 14, and I never will again either. The herbivore white knight mentality is almost virtually the 11th commandment. Mothers are feted on Mother's Day in that church. All mothers are asked to stand among the congregation during the service so that all the young men of the church can give them flowers in honor of being sacred mothers. On Father's Day, the preacher gets up and administers a harangue and excoriates fathers for failing to make the sacrifices necessary to make their wives and children happy.
Steve, can I
Yep.
stop you here for a second?
Sure.
There's this movement now amongst the tradcons and the right and the Christians to say that the way that to get the birth rate up is we need to pedestalize and celebrate motherhood. We need to make motherhood great again. We need to give women medals for being mothers.
Mhm.
And here's what I want to say. If that strategy was going to work, it would have worked decades ago when the Soviets tried it. It would have worked 15 years ago when this article was written. The idea that all we have to do to make women want to have children is to pedestalize women has been tried and tried and tried inside the church, outside the church. The Soviets hated anything related to church at all. They tried it. The church has tried it. It doesn't work. I could do a whole stream on, actually, I could do a whole stream, but the whole stream actually comes down to this on how to get the birth rate up. I will just turn it around and ask you a question. How many cities are you willing to nuke? It is that simple. Birth rate comes down to urbanization and hygiene technology. That's it. I can get the birth rate up to 4 next year if you want. Just give me command of the nuclear arsenal. I'm not kidding. It's so all of this stuff, but what it has done, I think particularly this fetting of mothers on Mother's Day in the church is it became a vector for this idea that women are the pure sex to be injected into the church. Okay. This idea that mothers are pure and mothers are great. I find it fascinating that the tradcons on the right are going that their answer to the birth rate problem is the exact same answer that the feminists had.
But you know what? If we just institutionalize this concept, in government and give them money for being mothers.
Ask the Soviets how well that
we
works.
can give them medals too. Okay, that's really a Soviet thing. Let's give them medals, and then it'll work this time.
Let's double down some more, guys.
Right, Nick. Yeah, let's double down some more.
Just go Jesus harder. Except nothing about this has anything to do with Jesus-ing harder. So.
It really doesn't. But what they did was they created a vector to inject feminism into the church, and they're going around now saying the same things. Oh, we need to pedestalize women, and that will make them want to have kids. No, it won't. In fact, we already know what it will do. It will do the exact opposite. That will drive the birth rate lower. How do we know that? Because everywhere, every time it's been tried, that's exactly what happened.
Right. Let me tell you about some of my experiences in the church here. I remember I get up to preach and we pray with the elders, and they're like, "Hey, you need to do something on." It was Mother's Day, right? And then they all want me to praise mothers and all that, and I shouldn't have even said this. I just said, "Yeah, and we're thankful for our mothers, and so we should be," and blah blah blah. Now back to what I'm doing. I don't think they like that. But they made sure we just got to honor the mothers. And for Father's Day, what did they want? Nothing. I didn't harangue the men. I certainly was not going to do that. I just didn't even mention it, really. And why? Why is the church inserting days when it's the Lord's Day? It's not Mother's Day. It's not Father's Day. It's the Lord's Day. Get your crap together. Stop overruling the Lord's Day with your self-made Hallmark holidays. Get that crap out of my face. Oh, and then for Valentine's Day, you know what the church did? They had all the men get together, and we all had to cook and serve all the ladies a nice meal.
Ugh. So, Andrew, you got what I was trying to say. This whole section of the article that we're reading is all about people trying to push feminism as the solution to problems caused by feminism. Pinning medals on women is feminism. This idea that you can pedestalize women into getting the result you want is literal feminism. That is the core of the feminist idea. They're just doing different. The left feminists are doing different things with it, have different goals than the right feminists do. And you know what? Maybe that's how I'm going to start referring to them. We've got the right feminists and the left feminists.
But only all members of 50% of the population get the participation medal. Or
yeah, I noticed that.
Trophy.
Somehow women still benefit.
I'll continue. And I notice in this church, most men are like my father, and most of the women regularly get together and gossip about their own husbands like they're all schmucks to be manipulated and treated contemptuously. The women in this church will regularly berate and chastise grown men in front of a group, and these emasculated men only trying to live righteously take it like simpering, sackless wimps. This is the kind of indoctrination I was raised with. This is what I learned to overcome through great introspection, experimentation, and observation by stumbling across the PUA sphere of the internet. I came across a multitude of viewpoints on the female gender and my own perception of male gender roles and how they complemented each other when each lived out their role according to the laws of attraction rather than the false lies of cultural misandry, feminist ideology, and a feminized matriarchal Christian chivalry mindset I had been brainwashed with my entire young adult life. I also learned precisely what behavior I had when I was dating my wife that caused her attraction to me, and how once I got married, I stopped acting that way and had fallen into the template of my parents' unhappy marriage. My wife had begun the long, slippery slope of falling out of respect for me, just as my mom has none for my own hardworking, nice guy father, who will bend over backwards to help and serve everyone in his life, not just my mom. I also recognized that many of the behaviors and attitudes espoused by the PUA sphere were basically a lesson I had never been really exposed to growing up, on how masculinity roles complement feminine roles to inspire attraction, and that you cannot beg, plead, or convince a woman to love, lust, and respect you. You can only get that by being true to yourself and fulfilling your masculine role in a complementary relationship. And I saw many of these traits in my wife's father, not just in his relationship with his wife, my mother-in-law, but also with all the women in his family. He was a natural. I'll pause
Okay.
right there.
Okay, I got one bone to pick. I hate this. This is a feminist bullcrap thing that he just kind of took for himself. I don't know if he meant it. I don't think he meant it in the same way. Being true to yourself. Just be true to yourself. Well, what happens if I want to be true to myself and I want to rob you?
Yeah, I think that's just common language here. He also said he is his own authority.
That makes
Being
sense.
true to being his own authority and keeping in mind that he's accountable to God. Okay. I'm going to assume that's what he really meant, but he used the common uh secular words to describe that. And I agree. It's mealy mouthed.
Right.
The other thing I want to point out, and I hate when people do this. Convince a woman to love, lust, and respect you. This idea that there's good lust and bad lust. No, no, no. There is no good lust. But desire, physical desire, is a good thing. So it'd be
Correct.
love, desire, and respect you. It's not lust. So that's a common thing that's entered into our modern world. That
Genuine burning desire. We could call it that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, this is an example. Read with the spirit of, or understand with the spirit of what he's saying. All of us use words that can be quibbled with and can be taken in the wrong way. What is the intent? Always keep that in mind when you're reading what someone's writing. What is their intent? So
And so
anyway,
he described how his dad had one template and then he'd fallen. No, he had one template, right?
right.
That caused the initial attraction, but then he kind of went through the betatization process, the template that his mom and dad had for. He fell into that. And lo and behold, his wife kind of
Most
developed the lack of
most of
respect.
us kind of fall into the template of acting like our parents in their marriage. That's what is, well, indoctrinated into our minds as normal. And we try and recreate that normalcy, even if it's a twisted or wrong sense of normal. So you have to use intellect and reason to change that. You cannot use emotion to change that.
And notice this: you cannot beg, plead, or convince a woman to love, lust, or respect you. You can beat her up. You could not. Don't beat her up. I mean, not literally, but you can tell her all the Bible passages. I'm sure she knows them, right? Most
So
if you do that to a woman,
so you're not, don't thump her over the head with the Bible.
I mean, it's okay to like say what the Bible says. I'm not saying that's wrong, but
I know that.
Don't expect it to change what she does.
right. They don't process things based on here's the truth. It's how most women don't process things on primarily on what is factually true based on, biblical authority, natural law. It's how they feel. And a lot of times those feelings in a response to who you are. Not all the time. It might just be they have there could be a terrible woman raised in a terrible environment, didn't have a proper father to discipline them, so on and so forth. But you start acting like a weak man, naturally, a woman is not going to respect you.
Yeah. Well, let's continue here. I also recognize the way in which my father-in-law treated my wife was the basic entire game mindset I had studied on the internet. He constantly negs my wife, his wife, and my sister-in-laws. They eat it up and eagerly engage in verbal one-upmanship matches of mildly insulting put-downs. Never really mean things. It's playful banter. I also noticed that my father-in-law basically ruled his house with a quiet, confident power. He almost never really laid down the law, and basically let my mother-in-law make most of the mundane day-to-day decisions. But if he felt any issue was in need of his input, his word was law. Not because he was oppressive, demanding, and overbearing, but because my mother-in-law and his children all respected him, and they lived in fear of his emotional state, not my mother-in-law. This, of course, was the exact opposite of the situation of my own household, where my father lived in perpetual fear of my mother's emotional state, and how I had let my own relationship dynamic devolve into. By learning to recognize the pretty lies that had led me to following out a dysfunctional relationship dynamic, I was able to turn it around and recognize the ugly truths. When I saw how dramatic it turned my own relationship around, I almost couldn't believe it. But it was not just with my wife, it was with my own self and how I interact with the rest of the world as well. I have not faked anything. I do not live a lie. I do not put up a front. Was I some spineless wimp that had magically transformed by studying game? Hardly. In fact, being raised by a doormat of a father and a domineering mother, I was a doormat that was harassed and picked on mercilessly by bullies and contemptuous girls until my early teen years. Then one day, something inside of me snapped. I got sick of being a spineless, sackless wimp And I took up martial arts, weightlifting, fishing, hunting, and other reactions with groups of older men. I toughened myself up with regards to other men. I eventually went in the completely opposite direction from my early teen years. In my early 20s, I fought in some amateur fights, became a nightclub bouncer, and learned precisely what it means to have some balls and suck up your fear and man up. I've kicked ass and had my ass kicked. But relating to women, I was still clueless. But I was also a man with a mission. When I met my wife, I was going to college, training martial arts 3 times a week, and always hunting, fishing, surfing, hiking, camping, something. I basically invited my wife into my world, and she fell in love with me. I constantly took the leadership role, and she followed without question. I wasn't gaming her, but neither was I a spineless suck up being a doormat in an attempt to gain her approval. I tried my hardest to be entertaining by being active in planning and carrying out activities for us both, and she loved doing all these different things with me. She eagerly accepted my proposal of marriage, and after we dated several years. After graduating from college and getting my first job and getting married, all that changed. Her biggest complaint for years was, "We don't do anything anymore." But instead of taking the initiative and refocusing on my mission, I made my mission the endless and fruitless attempt to supplicate and please her in a bid to try and make her happy, just as my father had done for my mother her entire life. And it did nothing but slowly kill her attraction and respect for me. Game made me see the truth of my situation and helped me reverse it in a dramatic fashion. Okay, we're going to go into examples of shit tests next, but let's comment on what was just said here.
So this is the church modus operandi for men, making women their mission. Now you're married. Now you have to supplicate to her. Now you have to love her like Jesus loved the church, doing everything you can to build her up, doing everything you can to, build your family. That's not a bad thing, but your entire focus now becomes on the woman and perhaps children if you have that as well, instead of yourself. You no longer, your mission is totally absorbed in her instead of her mission being absorbed in your mission. Submission.
Right. Okay, well, let's continue. In short, here was my former mindset, an example of my pathetic, supplicating spinelessness when trying to deal with an upset wife. I had way up there on my mental pedestal. Okay, here's the dialogue. Her: "We don't do anything anymore." Me: "Well, what would you like to do then?" Her: "I don't know. Why do we always do the same thing every weekend? Dinner and movies, dinner and movies." Me: "Well, what would you like to do then? What would make you happy?" Her, in complete disgust with me at this point: "Nothing." That's hilarious. Okay, so I cringed just writing that, but that was my reality for a long, long time. Now, me: "I have plans for us this weekend, woman," or wife, or wench, or mate, something playful, misogynistic, never fails. Her: "What do you mean, husband?" Or my man, she really does respond to this. Me: "I mean, don't go making plans with your friends. You have a date." Her, getting excited: "Oh, what would that be?" Me: "You'll see." This, I hope, illustrates the fundamental difference in my mindset. that has changed the entire dynamic of our interpersonal relationship. Do some of you get it now? I simply revel in masculine behavior rather than try to suppress it and live in perpetual apology for being male, which is by and large the cultural paradigm of our modern day society. Except in my own case, it was reinforced and magnified by a Christian church community that preached implicit misandry as a tenet of their religious doctrine. That is a summation of what I tried to convey by contributing my anecdotal experience at Royce's. Any comments there? Okay. Well,
Pretty
go
much
ahead.
what I've been describing. We've been talking about. Plutarch, you had something?
Yep.
Well, I was just thinking to myself, I find it fascinating that this was written 15 years ago. We're still talking about this. We're still noticing the same things. Yeah, it's gotten worse. But men have noticed this stuff for a long time now. And to me that's I don't want to use the word comforting, but I kind of look at it and I go, I'm not the only one. We aren't the only ones who've seen this. Somebody figured this out 15 years ago. He's saying pretty much the same things that Nick and I have taught. He said about our, relationship with the church and marriage and all of that. And yeah, it hasn't. The church hasn't got. All we can really say now is the church hasn't gotten any better. It's only gotten worse.
That's why I wanted to do this show. Talk about this, read this. Hey, it was all out there 15 years ago. And anybody in a leadership position in the church could have seen it, could have done something, but they didn't. So we're still in the same situation. And if you think it's going to change in 15 years by action of leadership within the church, you're wrong. It's going to take something bigger than that to cause society to change. And then that change will come back into the church at that point. It's going to take an external cause. Basically, God will either let us go to the point where something bad happens because it was inevitable, or if he's merciful, he'll cause something to happen, some kind of chastisement to wake us up before we destroy ourselves, which is actually an act of mercy. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying this for example. So, continuing on. As for Lady Rain, she was a commenter. Gee, a woman criticizing a red pill guy. Gee, that's something new.
Shocking.
Anyway, he responds, I am highly amused that you presume to be some sort of expert on people's relative happiness based on internet interactions. You have no clue, and furthermore, it is your own personally revealed details of your own sordid life, your own endless rationalizations and justifications for your mistakes you've made that not only impact your life, but that of your child's, that are more than enough evidence to know your disapproval and conjecture more than verify to my own mind how right I am and how deluded and shameless you are. But have no fear. The day will come when you will most likely realize that your poor choices in life have negatively affected your son. Will you still tell yourself your pretty lies, or will you ever face up to ugly truths? You truly are the penultimate representation of the contemptuous, obnoxious, and self righteous modern American female that is incapable of forming a stable, happy family with a worthy man who would be the ultimate role model for your boy to mold his life after. No, that would infringe on your own selfish narcissism. Having children is supposed to be a sacrifice by both parents to benefit your children. You are not willing to sacrifice your sense of independence and empowerment you have by being a hardworking single mom, paying her own way, and asking nothing of men to help you fulfill your life other than as a masturbatory sex toy hookups or kitchen bitch mangina who still long for your affection and which you shamelessly exploit. You know nothing of me other than what I've written here and elsewhere, and there is far more to my story than I've let on. I tried to focus on the key points of my own realizations simply to help other men. I see that many men that were raised with the exact same mindset that hindered me and nearly sabotaged my own relationship with my wife. You, on the other hand, have related your entire life onto the internet out of some strange desire to achieve some sort of reality show type fame. A shameless attention whore who thinks she's smarter than everyone else, but can't even recognize her own faults and mistakes, although everyone else can plainly see them in your self absorbed writings and rantings on the internet. My story is one of having learned from my mistakes and correcting my behavior. Yours is a story of how everyone else has done you wrong, but you still managed to overcome it, all through sheer awesomeness, hard work, and superior intellect. I'll give you the hard-working part. At least you are not another parasite welfare queen, nor do you use the biased family court system to trap some man into becoming your provider against his will. But you really are not as brilliant and intelligent as you think you are. So here's a quote from Lady Rain. I hate to be so crass, but that's at the root of it. Guys like Dave seem to think that controlling a woman is what makes you manly. No, a masculine man has no need to intimidate, manipulate, or control his partner. He is confident enough to want her to be with him because she wants to be, and also confident enough to get another woman if she doesn't want to be. Then Keone says, it's pretty entertaining of you to take a pot shot at me that has no basis in reality. Rather, you constructed a caricature of my life based on your own biases and misconceptions of game and the PUA community. See, you actually have the truth of my experience here in the latter part of your comment. But you got it completely wrong in the first part, in which you've mistakenly judged I had done nothing other than adopt a PUA mentality to control, intimidate, and manipulate my wife. No, I learned how to be that confident man that she wants to be with. My wife has an extended family support system and the means to leave me at any time. She always has. And she almost did leave me on more than one occasion. I do not intimidate, manipulate, or control her. I simply no longer have her up on a pedestal. I become the man on her pedestal, which is what satisfies her hypergamous instinct. This is why she proudly brags to her friends and coworkers that we've been happily married for 12 years now. Funny, how her current feelings about me and our marriage have extended to her overall opinion of our entire marriage experience. Huh. You, on the other hand, have yourself on your own pedestal.
Oh,
So,
so you're saying that women haven't changed in 15 years? Oh, darn it, Steve.
yeah, there's a whole bunch more here, but I guess not that much. We can keep going through this. I think we've already gotten to the meat of things, but I'll just keep reading. Stop me if you want to comment on something.
Okay.
Okay, here's a quote from Miles Anderson. It appears to me that Dave and Royce both share immense fear leading to hate. This is amusing, given both writers focus on their alphaness. I think this is sad. Both are articulate and occasionally have moments of intense clarity. It, it, it is sad both are associated with the spearhead, as most writing there is sophomoric. LMAO. No fear and no hate here, and I have never claimed to be an alpha or focused on my alphaness. I merely have endeavored to show how my personal experience illustrates how our society and cultural institutions inculcate betaness in men and lead them down a path of dysfunctional relationships with women. If you read that last sentence and don't understand that, you never will. So, he must be a beta simp attacking another guy. For the descriptors.
Scripters
Yeah,
are always the problem.
a quote from Nicholas Weininger. Agreed. This is what gets me about so much PUA advice. It does not treat women as fully reasonable and reasoning beings. And so, even in this supposedly more constructive LTR situation, Dave is playing stupid little games with his wife, being a cocky bullshit artist, instead of doing the hard work of communicating with her honestly about what each of them actually want and need, of laying bare deep insecurities and weaknesses in an atmosphere of trust and forgiveness. Ooh, here Keone says, ooh, you got me all figured out, don't you? Let me tell you something, Nicholas. You have the exact mindset I used to have. I thought being open and trying to communicate honestly and laying bare deep insecurities and all the other pretty lies you've internalized were the keys to making her happy. I would constantly beg her to communicate. Guess what? That happy relationship only exists in your deluded, blue pill addled mind.
Yes.
You and all the other white knights that sum up my anecdotal experiences are as playing stupid little games with my wife, being a cocky bullshit artist, are fools. Just watch any drama, TV, movie, or play that involves a seduction by a leading man and the female character. Take note of the playful banter, and most such scenes depict. Note the spark, the sexual energy that is generated between the two when a woman verbally challenges him and he is more than enough to meet her challenge. That's called flirting. That's what playing stupid little games with my wife involves. It's playful, it's fun, and it leads to true bonding. Because I'm able to bond with her like that, I literally seduce her repeatedly, over and over and over again, and it never fails to keep her happy. Does that constitute the entirety of our relationship? Hell no. One thing I've learned is that by learning how to verbally and psychologically seduce my wife by playing these stupid games, I've made my wife fall in love with me all over again. So now, if I choose to reveal my deepest insecurities, she has enough respect, attraction, and admiration for me because I entertain her with my bullshit, as you naively call it. It does not diminish my stature as a man in her eyes. A man that a woman does not respect, which in turns means desire and love, is a man who will only experience her contempt if he tries to bear his deepest insecurities and fears to her. That
Okay,
deserves some commentary.
so talking about this equal thing of communication and reasoning and bull crap. Have you tried reasoning with a woman and how and no, they get all upset. It's all about, well, you think I'm wrong. Well, here's the logic. Here's the, they don't care. Women's primary mode is not reasoning. It's feelings, it's emotions.
How many times
They are
in the red
not the
pill?
same.
How many times have we in the red pill told men, look, you cannot logic your woman into bed. You can't. I'm sorry, it can't be done.
And that's what all the chick crack and all these female, yeah, we need a good man that's, tells us that's communication's the key to a successful relationship and blah, blah,
Well,
blah. We're equal, reasonable beings.
a certain style of communication is necessary. I mean, that's what he's describing here, right? A certain style of communication. Now, everyone's going to tell you that it's bullshit. That what bullshit artistry or something.
It's two guys that are criticizing him for doing this. Beta simps coming in. Oh, you shouldn't treat the woman that way.
Fuck you. I'll treat her however I want to.
These two beta simps come in trying to tell a man how to treat his wife. Isn't that pathetic? Okay, we're getting close to the end. If anything, this style of acting is even less attractive as an LTR maintenance technique than as a pickup technique. It may not be so bad to act full of shit like this if all you want to do is get laid, and all the other people you are hitting on want to do is get laid. And that's tacitly understood by all. But if you cannot be fully emotionally open and honest with your life partner, you cannot be fully yourself with her, but have to put on a face of social dominance, then you can't be fully emotionally honest with anyone ever. And that's a terribly sad thing. Oh yeah, that's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So Keone says, oh, go choke on your own self-righteous, high-minded solipsism. The entire point I've been endeavoring to impart is that men shouldn't put up a front, or be something they're not, or act full of shit. The entire point is to become a man she respects and admires. By catering to her, being subservient, and supplicating, you cannot earn her respect, only her contempt. Women never respect men they can rule. Should I say that one again? Women never respect men they can rule. That can't be said enough. You guys got to understand that one. Instead of begging her to let me into her world, I now live to excel in my world, and she's welcome to be a part of it. It's not an act. It's not a front. It's a mindset, a way of life. One final thing to all. Everything I wrote about at Royce's were my experiences before I ever heard of his blog. Everything I studied and learned from was free resources on the internet regarding dating advice for men and other such things. Many of these sites no longer exist. One in particular, the reality method, was the real key in opening my eyes to social relationship dynamics. When I began to comment at Royce's, I decided to simply contribute to the unique melting pot of ideas and personalities that his blog had attracted at that point in time. Men would constantly beg Royce to give them advice on how to use game in LTRs they were in, along with a few other commenters there. I helped to point those men towards the light of truth that I had discovered myself. Much of the people I found to be in concordance with us on many of the related topics that were such great discussions in Royce's commentary section are the same contributors and commenters over at the Spearhead now. That is why I spend my time over there now rather than Royce's so much anymore. I can still read him every day, but don't contribute hardly any more commentary there. So, yeah, the Spearhead was a great place. I spent a lot of time there. That's it. That's all I wanted to cover today. And it took the entire show.
Well, it goes to show same problems 15 years down the road.
Probably-
Same crap excuses you see replying to the red pill 15 years down the road.
Well, that's the nature of the truth. People don't have the arguments against it haven't gotten any better because it's still true.
Right. And okay, he found this knowledge, which he calls red pill knowledge. He applied it to his marriage, and in the process improved his marriage and discovered the errors in the flavor of Christianity and what these aspects that were taught in Christianity. So he found truth in red pill. He applied it to his life and enhanced his relationship, his view of himself, him taking responsibility and leading the family. Hey, those are all Christian actions. So, married red pill is Christian.
Well, the Christians aren't
That's
going
the
to like
truth.
you for saying that.
Well, the descriptors are still the problem. They don't like the truth. They
Yep.
want to perpetuate the blue-pilled lies that women are these pure beings that you can rationally reason with, and they will always follow your lead, and women should always be praised and never corrected.
Yes,
That's
women
bullcrap.
should. Right? Yeah, women should be feted, and that will solve all problems. If we just worship women harder, that will solve the world's problems. That
So Nick, with your view of women and the nature of women, do you hate women?
No. I love them.
So
for
it's
who they are.
possible. It's possible to not think of women as pure beings and oh so holy and righteous and all that, and just see them as they are, deal with them as they are, and still love one woman. It's possible not to hate all women with
Yeah.
the attitude that you have. Gee, the Christians,
I'll
the
give the
tradcons would accuse you of being a misogynist.
Well, I would accuse them of being misogynist because they never really love women for who they actually are. They believe a lie. They believe a facade.
this is true.
It's an ideal in their head. and they're constantly beating up their brains in their private lives, wondering why this ideal that has been sold is not adding up to the reality that I'm living in.
Well, I would say if the men are not leading their family, they're really not doing their duty. And they're not being what God has called them to be as a model for their children, which includes discipline. And discipline does not merely equal punishment. Discipline is a whole concept of leadership. It's reward, it's teaching, it's working beside them, giving your son or daughter a task that you could easily do, and watching them struggle and fail at it, and then guiding them. And, if it gets dangerous, you step in. If they really screw up or defy you, well, okay, you're going to have to take some measures. This is all discipline. It's child rearing. And you know what? If you're the head of the family, just like your boss can reprimand you or write you up or terminate you or do something, he has authority over you. You have authority over your wife, and you're going to have to take that seriously. If you're in authority, you have the duty and the responsibility to fulfill that role. That's what God has called you to do. That's what the red pill is trying to tell you. And therefore, the red pill is Christian.
All truth is of God.
I can't make the argument any better than that.
Well, any closing thoughts, guys? I think we just kind of gave some, but
Yeah, I gave mine.
there we go.
I can't close it out any better than that. I can't state it any better than that.
There we go.
Hey, you know what? Going back and uncovering some of these, the history of the red pill and stuff that's written, 10, 15 years ago, it's kind of fun. It really makes for an easy stream preparation, too.
You telling me? Yes,
Giving
it
away
does.
all our secrets there.
Hey, if it's a good secret and other people want to do it, by all means do it. Resurrect some of this old stuff. There is, you know what? Okay, I'm going to give you a free idea here, guys. You can go and mine these old articles from 10 years ago, and you could build a successful YouTube channel just by reading. You could go through Doll Rock articles starting from the very beginning and read one a week, and you could probably gain a pretty good following.
Dang, that was one of my ideas.
Hadn't noticed, Nick. Hadn't noticed.
Hey, Nick. Now there's going to be 50 other people that know this.
Good. And they can do with
Yeah,
it whatever
yeah,
they
that's
want.
that's the size of
the message to get out.
Right. I mean, that's the size of our viewership. Maybe 50 to 100 people a week will watch this.
So, next week, Nick, you had an idea, and then I don't remember exactly what you called it, but I wanted to tag along on that idea. Can you tell them what it was?
I don't even remember what it was. I've written so much. Oh, okay. Scroll through my notes.
We've been called dry before, but really our dryness is just we actually sit down and prepare shit for our shows.
Oh, was it about how dumping certain low IQ or certain women people. Is it that one?
Oh, you mean talking? Yes, we were going to talk about IQ. Uh, It'll be a little more practical applications. Um, Dumping low IQ women. One of the things that we were talking about is, now that I'm recalling, is we were talking about how you can do like a reverse Flynn effect, which means we'll have to talk about what the Flynn effect is.
Oh,
And
that one too. Yeah,
yeah,
we're talking
well,
about IQ. So like, okay.
yeah, my thought was is because I have a grab bag of other IQ ideas that I can't make a whole show out of like one of the ideas, but I've got a bunch of these little ones that I can do in like 10, 15 minutes. Um, so and you know, you've got your ideas that you want to bring up. So I was thinking we would do something a little different format wise, where we don't tear into one big idea, but we have a few different ideas and we talk about them for 15, 20 minutes. Because I've got a couple that I'm sitting on and have been sitting on for a while. One of which is I've been trying to come up with a model for people of lower IQ to identify who is the higher IQ person. When you see two smart people debating, is there a way you can identify who the smarter person is in the argument? You know, because the three of us are all the same IQ, so it's not roughly the same IQ. So it's not really a problem that we have to deal with on the stream. But I was actually just this morning, somebody posted about how an observation that we've made before, that content creation is very much the domain of the midwit. And I find it interesting that people are starting to notice that there seems to be an upper limit on the intelligence of the conversation that goes on social media, and I think we could talk about that a little bit too. So there's a few ideas that we've got cooking around that we can bring up. So we're going to do an IQ grab bag next week, I guess.
Well, that sounds fun.
All right. So that's next.
Sounds fun.
That's next week.
All right.
Okay.
Well, guys, I will get in trouble if I don't say it. So the guys will be back on Saturday on Elena's show. No idea what the topic is there. And yeah, see, there it is. There's the comment. See. And you know, look, if you guys have a question about what we talked about tonight, you know, drop us a comment. I've been a little under the weather the past couple weeks, so I haven't been responding, but we will get back to you for the most part. We're not that great about that because all of us have jobs outside of this. So
Yeah, just be persistent.
yeah. If you like what you saw, drop us a like. If you want to hear more, subscribe to us. Sorry, guys, I'm blanking. And yeah, we will see you all Saturday or next week, depending on your guys' schedule. Later.
Yep, Saturday, 9:15 Pacific time, 11:15 Central time on Elena's Bar Fitness YouTube channel.
All right. See you all next week.
Be on the flip side.
There was a firefight! Resurgence!